Welcome to the Second Press podcast, a wine-ish podcast hosted by Brad Horn and Dan Kirby.
Dan knows this already. I trained my whippet to hunt truffles in Provence, which I don't think any Provençal person has ever seen. The fastest whippet hunter in the entire of Provence.
Hi Dan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, podcast number 2.
We're in. This is number 2. It's a thing now. We've got to keep running with it.
If you're listening, thanks for being here for number 2. You made it all the way through number 1, I hope.
Yeah.
Listen to the Anne McHale podcast, and you're here for number 2, so we really appreciate it.
So what's going on this week, mate? Obviously, as we said in the first episode, we're going to touch a bit of trade news that is relevant to everyone. Thanks to the Wine Industry Digest that's actually giving a lot of our news things, because obviously you're in the trade, mate, so you get all these news emails from the drinks business, from the buyer, from all these guys. Obviously, I don't get all those things. A little bit, I do. But in one place, this sort of newsletter that comes out weekly really gives you a rundown of what's going on.
Yeah, it's good. It's run by a guy called Adam. He just sort of picks a few interesting bits. There's only maybe like 5 articles a week, but they're always really interesting. One that resonated me within the last couple of weeks is one that I know that's on your list to talk about, and it's like the wine duty.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Kicked in. Right. So 1st of February, we're recording these first few episodes at the start of February, and the wine duty has just gone up again. So Brad, fill us in on the news story here.
Well, it's following a tax hike of 3.66%. That's like quite a lot. So the 50p extra on a bottle of wine.
Yeah, basically it translates quite a lot. If you're on a sort of 14% alcohol wine, like a big chunky Spanish red or an American red, then yeah, almost sort of 50p increase, which is
and now we are top in the UK of tax. We have just overtaken Finland.
Yeah, we were paying quite a high rate of tax for ages.
Yeah.
And so like Ireland pay a lot, Sweden, Finland, like Scandinavian countries pay a lot. And then we were up there and we've just like pipped the crown of like the people that pay the most tax on wine.
Finland are now laughing at us, thinking you silly British people paying too much tax for wine.
Yeah, and a lot of really good commentators who have spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the trade have spent a lot of time rallying against it. So people like Miles Beale from the WSTA and a good couple of buddies of mine, like Hal Wilson from Cambridge Wine Merchants, they've been really, really outspoken on the topic of how negatively duty increases on wine has been for the industry. And, it just sort of continues to get worse. And
and it will trickle down, won't it? It hits importers, it hits retailers, but it's going to hit consumers. And obviously we're consumers as well. We buy wine. So it does affect absolutely everyone from top to bottom.
I think I was hanging out in one of the Majestic stores the other day, and I know the manager of my local shop pretty well. And I think almost across the board, Majestic have put almost £1 on everything.
Wow.
By default, and they've carefully looked at a few other bits, but their base level is just right. Increase everything by £1, and then we can sort of tweak it from there. And they are some of the price edge sort of prices on the shelves are just looking a bit sort of out of the range of most consumers now as well. That sort of sweet spot of like 10 to 12 quid is now like 13 to 14, and people are thinking, oh, actually, what can I do instead for 15 quid? It's really hurting. Well, on the industry scale, the bottom end is struggling. So if you're spending hundreds of pounds on a bottle of Lafite or Latour, an extra 50p is not going to be an issue to you. But if you're looking at sort of £6 to £8 as your main range for buying a bottle of wine, and that going up from 6 to 8 to sort of 7 to 10, that's a big jump for those wines. But at an industry level, on a producer level, the bulk wine industry and people that are shipping millions of bottles a year, that's where decline in consumption is hitting people.
Totally.
So they're choosing other drinks, and that really interesting like premium tier of small producers doing really lovely wines. They're struggling slightly less because 50p at 20 quid is less of an issue.
Absolutely. And actually, my second story probably does touch on this as well. It was from Richard Siddle in The Buyer, talking about what can the big giants do more to help. And I think he probably goes on to that, from that to this. And he wrote a really good article talking about what do they do more. I literally, I'll ping it in the show notes for people to go and read it themselves. I'm not going to talk about what Richard's written, but he's written a really good article saying what can they do to help the industry? What can they do to help consumers? Are they doing enough? Almost.
Yeah, what can the big producers do? Because it's all well and good. There are plenty of people in the trade who are quite happy to talk about really interesting niche, small, natural, biodynamic little producers, and that's where like the joy is for a lot of wine, like people. But if you look at what most people are drinking, it is the wines that are made by the big guys. Yeah. And so it's a really pertinent point to say, actually, what can these guys be doing? And there are all sorts of resonating factors at the moment, whether it's duty, whether it's glass bottle weights, whether it's all sorts of stuff. And it's a really interesting article to go and read.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to say we should move on to the interview, mate, but we could keep talking about this. Maybe later on in one of the episodes, we'll get someone on to talk a bit more about duty and what it really means. Because as consumers and in the trade, we know a little bit, but actually people right at the forefront of it know a lot more. So if anyone wants an interview talking a bit more about that, we're not going to be super geeky, but we'll get that for you as well.
And we also won't spend every episode yakking on about politics.
No, because I'm not going to talk politics. Someone who didn't talk about politics was our next guest.
So yeah, my really good buddy and MW study buddy, Anna Spooner, is our next guest. And we're super excited to have her on the show.
Here we go. So welcome Anna Spooner to the Second Press podcast. Dan, you are a friend of Anna, so I'm going to let you introduce what she does, who she is. It's on you this time.
Oh, okay, cool. So me and Anna go way back. We met at the 2021, I think, Rust seminar for the Stage 1 MW students. And over the course of a week, that was a real eye-opener. We both, I think, just like tasted wines under MW conditions for the first time and didn't really have a clue what we were doing. But off the back of that, we had a study group, and Anna really was the linchpin of that. So in terms of MW, I've been riding off the back of that for the last 2 years, but actually she disappeared off to France. And so my first question is, what's wrong with the UK, Anna? Why did you go to Provence?
I'm going to leave guys for a moment and let these two just sort that out, okay?
Yeah, it feels like that's a bit of a gripe, Dan. We've not addressed this. Right.
Goodness. This wasn't in the email, Dan.
Why Provence? Well, my parents they live now where we are, 20 minutes away. And yeah, we always knew, my husband and I always knew we didn't necessarily, we love the UK for lots of reasons, but we both adore being outside. Big outside people, big sunshine people. I'm a vitamin D addict. Not like a tanning addict, but just to have the sun on my face and not be pissed on with rain every single day is where I'm at. And during the various lockdowns, spent more and more time out here, and we just eventually thought, hold on, it's technically I live in the Rhone, right? I'm right at the top of Provence, so I live in the southern Rhone. It's a wine region. My husband's a tree surgeon. There's plenty of trees around here. So it just sort of, well...
I'm sure your husband loves you calling him a tree cutter.
A tree cutter. He's an axe man. It made a load of sense and 0 sense all at the same time. So he was running a really good business in the UK, with like a team of people, blah, 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 established clients. He doesn't speak French. I spoke very little French. We had 2 dogs. We decided to move an entire house, buy a new house, start 2 brand new businesses. Dan's heard me wax lyrical. It was both the most brilliant and foolish decision of my life, but don't regret it.
You're a couple of years in. Does it feel settled?
Yeah, it does. In the summer, my main work is running tours and tastings in Provence. So I sort of live a double life. I have my winter hibernation online life of videos and education and, private tastings. And then in the summer, I pack my proverbial car and I take clients all around Provence and the Rhone, which I love. It's so, so great. So I don't know if we feel settled yet. And anybody that's ever moved to France knows administration, French bureaucracy is mind-blowing. So I still drown in that every day. Yes, is the nice answer to your question, Dan. There's lots of easier things now that we're here. But there were, it's not plain sailing.
I'm going to go back a bit, Anna, because obviously your journey into wine began in the UK.
For sure.
Yes. So when did that start? If people don't know you, where did your wine journey start, and to now to that crazy move to France?
Well, I actually I did English at university. Decided to go to Newcastle University, despite everyone around me at school was better, telling me to go do something slightly more academic. So I learned how to drink well, but not wine. Went into journalism and food and drink PR after that. Loved it. And actually, freixenet was one of our clients, the Carver brand. And I fell in love we went to Barcelona, then went out into the Pinedes to the vineyards, and I just totally hook, line and sinker fell for the tiny snippet of wine trade that I'd experienced, which was, a big commercial brand. Kudos to freixenet. And I was a bit like, how can I get more involved in this? So at the time, I just literally quit my PR job, took a freelance marketing position, worked 3 days a week doing that, 2 days a week doing fast track WSET level 2 and 3. Whilst I was doing level 3 at West London Wine School, they asked me if I'd be interested in teaching. So thank you very much, Jimmy Smith, for kind of giving me my big break, as it were. A small break, I'd say. But I started teaching there and I loved it. So I was juggling marketing, teaching there, dropped the marketing thing. And from there got semi-headhunted by the Wine Society. And from there, from the regular tastings team, when COVID hit, so by this point we're talking a few years in, sort of 3-4 years into my career, maybe a bit more, 5 probably. And then when COVID hit, I sort of had the idea to start the online wine tasting at the Wine Society. Had a great boss at the time who let me run with it. So a guy called Tim Schwalk said, give it a go, see what happens. And Sarah Knowles MW is in the buying team there and was a massive advocate for this wild project we had where we were like, let's try Zoom. And I'm not joking.
Online wine tastings, this new idea.
Yeah. And what was crazy was, the resistance we got. It'll never work. Zoom is not, this new platform. What will we ever do with Zoom? No. Probably shouldn't repeat this, but I'm sure it's fine. Sarah put the first Zoom bill on her personal credit card. Sarah Knowles was like, yes, this is going to work. People are stuck at home and they need a drink. And then the rest is history, because after that, it was great. So, and I should mention, I sort of, in between all of that, did my diploma as well. So it's literally 10 years that I've been...
10 years in 7 minutes and 38 seconds.
Something like that. Something like that.
That's pretty good.
From your first visit to a vineyard in Carver to you finishing your diploma, what was the timeline? Because that seems quite tight.
It was quite tight. Probably it would have been 2015 when I visited Carver. And then diploma, did I finish that in 2018, 2019? Yeah, wow. So I worked quickly. I had a bit of something to prove because I had dossed around at uni, and I've said to Dan a million times, that's why I wanted to do, and why I continue to want to do the MW, because I spent my entire university degree.
Well, you went to Newcastle for a reason.
Yeah, drunk or hungover, one of those two states. What I didn't do was go to the library. So I was kind of in the mood to learn.
Yeah, I don't know many people in the MW program that haven't got something to prove to themselves. Like, same for me. I spent years and years doing music, working in pubs, dossing about.
I know.
And actually, when I got the bug for wine, I really wanted to do the hardest possible thing.
You're all a little bit crazy.
I'd say unhinged for sure. That's like unhinged. The common. Okay. That's the common. Yeah, because some people are kind of quietly unhinged who do the MW, and then there are the more extroverted unhinged.
But everyone's a little unhinged.
Everyone's got something slightly wrong with them for doing the MW, for sure.
I don't know many MWs that would object to that.
I would agree. One thing's interesting, though. A lot of the MWs do say, oh, don't do it for a personal... I remember my mentor early on was like, write down why you're doing it, and et cetera, et cetera. And, make sure it's a good reason, not just a vendetta or something. And I was like, what if the vendettas were myself? I have a personal vendetta against past Anna. So I stuck with it. But yeah, I'm taking a pause at the moment, obviously, with Baby 2 coming. But fingers crossed.
Obviously, you spoke about wine education and at the West London Wine School, and obviously now you do educational videos and help people still on their journey. So where can people get hold of that content? Because I've seen a little bit. You've been very nice to send a few bits over to me, and it is fab, especially from like people that are really interested into wine, but also like just like consumers that are interested in wine and actually want to learn more. And I think a lot of times inside the trade, we don't look at what consumers want from wine. And I think your videos really do. Yes, anyone in the trade can get involved, but also people outside that are interested in wine, that have a passion, like you did from going to the vineyards in Penedeth. But like, so how can people get hold of that content?
Yeah, so last year I summoned my sister, who is a documentary maker. So Helen Spooner, she's absolutely fantastic. And I said, you're pretty good with the camera. I've got no money. Would you like for free to come and make some high quality videos for me? And I won't pay you, but you can come stay. And she said yes, because she's crazy.
We don't say crazy anymore, we say unhinged.
Unhinged, she's unhinged. But she has done a brilliant job. And also it's really nice making that sort of stuff with someone that you know and love, because we're both quite professional in the sense that we want to work hard. So we really did do our best, but also you can have a real laugh. And at the end of the day, you've probably got 10 bottles of wine open and you can enjoy them together. So it's perfect. But it all spawned really, I should say, so we started something called the Tasting Studio, which came from really when I was at the Wine Society, when we went into lockdown, one of the core components of what we offered was this thing called sip size, which I invented, which was basically short, easy to digest. Because I think a lot of the time when we pitch wine tastings, we pitch to, and it's easy for us to go, oh yeah, let's do all the Crus of Barolo because they're so interesting. Well, they are interesting if you've been in the wine trade for 6 years. But if you're just looking to work out what's the difference between Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon, or, what's good to buy in Tesco's? I think that's my one sadness, not living in the UK. I find it really hard to talk too much retail. Yeah, so I wanted to design something that was accessible for any starting point and that you could build upon. We've got 3 live on the website at the moment, 3 courses live. We've got 3 in post-production, which is basically me with lots of cups of tea trying to edit these things and calling her constantly whilst she works some really high-profile documentary. And she's like, Anna, I'm in the edit. Oh, I don't know how to work this.
I love your voice. Your sister's got a really great voice. And yours is like, hello.
Hello, help me, Helen, help me. But no, I've got 3. So 3 online, 3 in post-production. And then I've got a couple more that I've already written that just need recording, which I'll do later this year. And the idea is basically that you can take the course in your own time. So the first one we did was 9 most fundamental grapes. You've got your Chardonnays, your Rieslings, your Pinot Noirs, etc. But the 9 most important grapes commercially that you'll see on the shelves, what do they taste like? What should I expect, from them? Where are they best grown in the world and what are the styles? When should I drink them? Not just with what food, but like, are there people that will like and dislike these styles generally? Are there occasions that suit these styles of wine? So that's our sort of flagship, I guess you could call it. And the idea is you get membership for life to watch this over and over again. So the first time round, they're only like 10, 15 minutes long per grape. And you watch it, you might get a bit out of it. You might go to the supermarket and you go, oh, okay, I'm going to try a Riesling because I actually don't know much about it. I'm going to watch the video again. You could watch it on the tube if you wanted to. You could watch it. You could listen to it technically in the, as like a audio in the car. But also it's designed that you can watch it on your smart TV with the sample packs that we now offer as of the end of last year. So yeah, they're kind of, I call them stackable because the idea is you can just build on them and build on the experience as you go. So in the future, we will have, it'd be great. We will do Premier Cru Burgundies side by side, but not right now. Right now, we're focusing on core information that really helps people feel a bit more confident about wine.
And to be honest, that's why I did what I did and got into wine. I love that. And you're talking about it's actually making people feel more confident and actually making feel people like they are part of the wine world, because everyone should be and should be allowed to be. It should be accessible. It should be easy to get into. And if you want to jump in down the rabbit hole and feel like Alice in Wonderland falling down that hole, that's fine, and keep learning and learning and learning. But if you feel like I'm at my level, I know where I am, but we should let these people be part of the world. Don't just say, no, if you're not drinking Grand Cru Burgundy, as you said, you're not part of it. No, actually, if you're drinking wine, it might not be the best wine in the world, but you're still in the door. And I can teach you and I can point you in the right direction, and you can learn that little bit more to level up. I mean, that's so important that we do keep people interested in wine and drinking wine.
I got into the wine trade because of a £9.99 bottle of Cava. And to this day, I still feel true joy when I have a glass of freixenet. It doesn't matter that it's not the most beautifully made Cava in the world. Wine is about way more than that. And there's a time and a place to drink almost any wine within reason. And you know, we're in the wine trade. We're very fortunate that we get amazing experiences and opportunities to drink old stuff, very expensive stuff, really brilliant stuff. But what about if you just want to know how to spend 15 quid on a Friday? Like that's me too. I'm that person as well. So
Absolutely.
You can be both things at the same time.
Absolutely.
One thing we haven't spoken about yet, Anna, is that, like me and Brad, you're also starting a podcast. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I can. I was very fortunate to meet a guy called Alexandre Freguin, who was UK Best Sommelier. He was winning UK Best Sommelier the same year I was winning Decanter Virtual Wine Experience Award. So we bonded over our sort of past.
Zoom.
We met in Provence at what I can only describe as a wine rave that he was running, which is absolutely fabulous. He runs this amazing event with his fiancée, and it's like parties and wineries, but very little. He only serves non-French wine to French people, which I just thought was genius. And he and his partner moved to Provence. They're now very rural, having come from, he was at like all sorts of L'Enclume and places like that, head of wine there. And so we both sort of lived these past lives of more, not more professional careers, but more established careers in the UK. And we've found great friendship. And so with each other's partners as well, and our kids. And
oh, nice.
Yeah. And so we got together. And one of the things, a bit like you two, one of the things he and I feel quite strongly about is that wine is not just about reading off a load of facts. You know, there's only so many times I can hear about how many acres of Sauvignon Blanc there are in Chile. Like, I just not sure I care enough. It's obviously interesting if you make Sauvignon Blanc in Chile, but so we were like, let's try and make a podcast that talks about visiting regions and restaurants to go to and gives you like the facts if you want to go and visit. The premise behind it is trying to get people to open more bottles or book a wine trip. And so we're giving you theory, but we're doing it in slightly more lighthearted way. And so we've only recorded 2 episodes so far, and we've got the rest to record around the birth of my child. So we'll see how that goes. Great time to launch a podcast. Absolutely fabulous. But yeah.
Well, please let us know where to get the link and we can spread it out and spread the love. I was going to ask you a couple more questions, actually, not wine related. When you're not talking about wine, educating people about wine, what are your other pastimes? What do you do to relax or to not relax and go crazy or unhinged?
Go unhinged. Dan knows this already. I trained my whippet to hunt truffles in Provence, which I don't think any Provençal person has ever seen. The fastest whippet hunter in the entire of Provence.
It's also quite shrewd, Anna. So you've got all the other slow dogs in Provence, and you can just be like, release the whippet, release the whippet.
Send the whippet in. It is and it isn't. He gets very distracted as soon as he hears another noise, and particularly truffle season coincides with hunting season in Provence. So there'll be like a distant gunshot and some man yelling, chasing a boar, and immediately he's no longer interested in the truffles.
Whippets are the best.
So now we're currently in how many meals a day can you include truffles? Because we can't sell them, right? We're not locals. I don't have an access to market. I don't have a route to market for my measly truffle supply. So
if anyone wants to get in hold of Anna and get some truffles, just ping her an email, please, guys. Thanks.
Please do. And then other than that, it's tricky because I would say the theatre, I grew up with a dance and acting background, which I think has lent itself, those soft skills have really helped me when it comes to presenting and talking to people about wine. That is harder for me to indulge in here in very, very rural Provence. But I would say in terms of a passion, the thing I miss about London, for example, I should be clear, I didn't move from London straight to Provence. I sort of eased my way in by coming to the Essex countryside first. I countrified myself in the UK and then I countrified myself abroad. But when I was in London, the thing or when I go back to London, the thing I sort of crave or I'm Googling is what's on in the theatre. So that would be my sort of little passion. And then it is animals outside. Those two things together usually, but I'm obsessed with animals. So I've got 3 dogs. I
do love animals outside too.
Yeah, I prefer them outside.
I actually prefer indoor animals.
Dan, you have a whippet as well. They are best suited for inside.
Oh God, yeah, they're mostly inside. It's like rainy and cold here in England, and you go through the rigmarole of getting the jacket on and your coat on and getting some treats and all sorts, and then you just open the door and it's raining, and the dog's like, "Nah, absolutely not. I'm not going up there.
Nah.
No."
I've got a couple more questions for you, Anna. This is technically wine related. What's the first wine you recall drinking?
So I don't know about recall drinking, but the sort of aroma of my childhood, this is going to sound strange, is New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay. So
my mum was a real, my parents are both really into wine, but they're not big collectors. We didn't have a cellar. They would be the sort of consumer that I'm interested in talking to, actually. It's not that I'm not interested in talking to, I love talking to people that have a cellar, but that's a privilege. If you can speak to a consumer that's really engaged like that, you can often get a really good back and forward. But actually what's really fun is talking to someone who's a bit fresher in their journey. And I would describe my parents as being like that when we were younger. They knew enough to be dangerous. And my mum loved Oyster Bay. And so my sort of smells, experiences, Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc is what resonates very heavily with me as a early recollection. Again, not the finest wine, but important in the canon of the wine world.
Did you have any uni wine that you remember? Was there a generational wine? I remember loads and loads of White Zinfandel.
No. I think I had a group of friends who were quite into food as well. I mean, we were really big into dinner parties. Where we would try and do stupid things. I think a friend and I had something stupid 17 people over for dinner. We couldn't fit that many people in one table, let alone in the room. We had an L-shaped kitchen and it was just a disaster. And we tried to make homemade ravioli. But we realised very quickly we didn't have enough pans and they were all sticking to each other. So we had woks full of crab ravioli. It was just a disaster. But we always used to buy wine for those. So going out, I never sort of, looked at a wine list in a restaurant, for example. I guess that's what I'm getting at. We used to buy what was on offer, but we would buy what we liked. So Connoisseur Pinot Noir was a big one for us. The Bicicletta, what was it? Bicicletta? Those kind of wines. It was the spirits that got us good.
I've got one more question before you let me go, and we can continue this talk of spirits and Newcastle and Provence. What would be the last wine you'd ever drink? So I'm not going to say Desert Island, but what was the last drink, last glass of wine you'd like to have?
For many reasons, I suppose Klein Constantia, because Van der Constance it's my husband's favorite wine. I'm not a martyr. I'm not being like, oh, we could share it together in my final moments. But we've been to visit Matt Day, the winemaker, there twice now. He is just an absolutely fabulous guy.
And it's a beautiful part of the world as well. If you get to go there, I've actually been there as well, but you're there and you go up and you see the bay, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. So actually, that's not a bad choice. Going there, drinking it there, the view, it's all right.
We had a COVID lockdown wedding as well, so we had one of those 30 people jobs, and so because we were doing that, we then decided to get married again 2 years later and have a party in Provence. But for the 30-person one, we said, well, look, why don't we buy some nice wine? And we actually had Van der Constance after supper, so it's got sentimental value as well. It's the kind of wine that you just think about, but it's pleasurable. I think I'd love to say, some Grand Cru Burgundy, like we were saying, or some amazing vintage of something. Actually, sometimes you just want the joy, and Van der Constance is a wine that brings me joy, pure, unadulterated joy. And I don't have a sweet tooth, so it's quite confusing for me. I'm conflicted about why I love it so much, but I do. There's a lot of emotion and experience and feeling wrapped up in it, as well as it just being one of the greatest wines in the world.
I absolutely love that. And I didn't want to interrupt you there because it's so true. For me, that is the great part of wine. They can bring so much emotion. It's the person you drunk it with, the people you drunk it with, the emotion, the time spent hopefully there trying the wine. That's why I fell in love with the wine industry. Obviously, I love geography and things like that, and that's what got me into wine. But actually, the wine industry is those experiences with people, trying wine, talking about it, but actually just the pleasure of a wonderful glass.
100%.
Thank you so much, Anna. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. It was great to be on.
Awesome. That was a fantastic chat, Dan. I really enjoyed yours and Anna's back and forth. I was sort of sitting back this time. As a host, I like to be in control. At that point, I was sort of leaving you to it, mate.
Yeah, it makes a change that you're the one sitting back and listening. But me and Anna go so far back. We've known each other for ages. We both have like a love of whippets. So like I've got a little needy whippet who I absolutely adore, and Anna's got two absolutely berserk whippets who go chasing for truffles in Provence. So our dogs couldn't lead different lives, but we love them all dearly.
Absolutely. And you mentioned as well her podcast is coming out. Well, obviously, we're launching a podcast, so we're going to give her podcast a shout out as well. It should be coming very soon as well.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. Really interesting premise to more about sort of travel and trips and places to eat and drink through education rather than just focusing on, a more and more education. So yeah, really lovely premise.
And anyone that's on the holiday in Provence, hit her up because I'm sure you'll be able to get a good tour, a good tasting. She'll take you around to a few vineyards, wineries.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty fun.
Super exciting. Go and hang out with Anna in Provence if you want to. She'll show you around all the lovely wineries now.
Amazing. Anything else you've been listening to, doing this week, Dan, obviously, as we're coming to the end of the show?
What are you up to this week, Brad? Anything fun?
Well, this week, obviously, we're recording this in Feb. So, as everyone knows, the Winter Olympics has just started. And me and my boy, obviously, spoke about it last week, love a bit of sport. We're literally curling aficionados now. We literally know everything about curling.
Really?
For these 2 weeks, I literally become obsessed with curling.
I'd love to have a crack at that. It looks like so much fun, doesn't it?
It really does, mate. It really does. We were watching one of the semi-finals today, and our mixed doubles pair lost, so they're in the bronze medal match.
Oh, no.
Disappointed we both were.
Have you got like a fantasy curling league going on with like pick a mixed doubles team and a country?
That sounds like something for the next Olympics I must do. I'm not sure when the next Winter Olympics is. Anyone that does, please let me know. And we're going to have a fantasy curling league. I absolutely think that's brilliant, mate. On more of a serious note, I've actually just finished reading a book, Wild Dark Shores. It's sort of set in the not too distant future, and then the world's sort of going to shit. And it's sort of this island where they keep all the seeds and stuff for the world. this family live there, and they're the caretakers of this island, and the island's like flooding, and they've got to get off it. And it's a really great book. I'd recommend it. I'll put it in the show notes. Sort of resonated with me having a young family and stuff.
So isn't there like a real life project where they do keep all those seeds and stuff?
There is something in Scandinavia, I think up there is something, maybe in Iceland, but this is set in like somewhere off the coast of Australia, a little island.
Amazing. So it created like a post-apocalyptic world around something that could actually happen.
Yeah, and it is a really good book, so I'd recommend it. Wild Dark Shore, that's probably my recommended book for the month.
Amazing. Any good wines?
I actually went to a tasting with Nat Christensen from Yealands, had a bit of a tasting with her, tried some really good wines, and one that really stuck out to me was she's making Albarino in Marlborough. Really, really smart wine. Sort of, obviously not Galicia. It's not as wet and cold, but being by the coast, it had this wonderful salinity. So that was a wine that really stuck with me, mate. And she's a really good girl and a really good winemaker.
Amazing. I think we were chatting before that loads of producers starting to put things like Albarino and Chenin and like interesting, slightly more quirky grapes, sort of moving away from Sauvignon Blanc a bit, which is really exciting to see in New Zealand. Absolutely love it. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. And anything for you, mate, before we go?
No, I mean, haven't really drunk a lot of wine recently. I don't know whether you listened to the last episode. I actually managed to get all the way through dry January this year, and so I haven't been drinking a lot of wine, but I'm really looking forward to getting back on the wine. So as soon as I've had some good wines in my gob, I will let you know which ones they were.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll catch people next time.
Yeah, cool. See you all soon.
Hey, guys.